I'm going to create a displacement map which will alter the geometry and the render time. So that may be not useful for every application in a game. However, it's not so bad for creating terrain. So I'm going to create a grayscale image. This is in Photoshop because it gives me a lot more control. But Maya will also create this kind of. I'm going to create a cloud image. I want to show you that the image size is image size is 2048 by 2048, so powers of 2. And I'm going to use a filter called, it's under the render, called clouds. It's important that these color chips down here are white and black, so those are only two colors that it will use, and it will create gradients in between. As I understand it, the black areas, I'm going to apply this render, this displacement map to a plane, which makes sense for terrain. And as I understand it, the black areas will be where the plane is flattest, and the white areas will be the tallest. In other words, the black is not pushing the plane down, only the white and gray are raising it. So I want some, maybe more black, so that some parts remain the plane. And I can get new cloud filters. Once I use a filter in Photoshop, it's just right here at the top, and so I can just try until I find one that has maybe a image of a pattern of black that pleases me. But you can see there's not much black, so I want to adjust this layer. I can do it here, image adjustments, and you can see levels, curves, exposure, etc. But that is a change I make once, and then I can't go back and change it again. If I save this, for instance, there's no undos anymore if I close this and open it again. But here I have the same stuff, create a new fill or adjustment layer. So all the same adjustments are here, and I want to use levels. And so this is the levels adjustment layer, and here are my levels, and if I pull this to the right, I get more black. This is the gray, and so I can get more shades of gray, or higher contrast or lower contrast. And this is the white, and I can get higher peaks of white. And I want as much gray as I can get, and I guess that would be wherever's between these two. So now this will probably be the highest point, and this will be the plane. And now we can keep actually getting more. This doesn't seem to be generating new clouds for me. It seems to be generating the same ones, kind of just slightly different. But anyway, this should be more black here. There should be more flat, and then these should be the peaks. And maybe the peaks are a little bit like cliffs. So yeah, I like this. I like this better. So this is the image I want to use for my displacement map. In this version of Photoshop, it's actually File, Save, and down here it says what file type. I only have 4 kinds. Strangely, I have to save a copy. I don't know why that is a new hurdle to saving, for instance, a Targa, which is what I want to save. This is going to my 3D folder, terrain. I created a terrain folder just for these kind of back. Okay, so this, I'll call this one range terrain. And you can see I have mountain ranges and other names, so I want to be sure I know this name. And I'll save. And I'm going to save it at 32 bits, so I'm not sure if it makes a difference. Oops. I thought Maya was open. I won't make you watch Maya launch. Alright, so I'm going to create a new project. I'll create a plane. It's a very small plane. I want it to be much bigger. So under polyplane, I can make the width, like say 100, and this should be meters. But of course I can also enlarge it in my game engine. I'm going to leave the number of faces here just to fool around with this maybe later. So this looks good to me. I need to create a new material. And and that should be Arnold's AI standard surface. So I've created a new material before I launched my Hypershade, and it's not here, but I figured it out. As long as this is selected, and it is, I should be seeing it here under, if I hover, I should see graph material unselected objects. And so that's my AI standard surface 1. That's the material there. All right, so I want to get my targa into the Hypershade, and I called it range terrain. And I'm going to minimize this. So now this is the texture, this is the targa, and I'm going to export from the out color here into the displacement shader, but I can't do it directly. I need to create a displacement shader to plug in here, because this is not a displacement shader. This is looking for a plugin from a displacement shader. So anywhere I want to click and hit tab and then type there's a displacement shader is my option. Click it. And so this is a displacement shader, and you see it outputs to something that looks just like this. So this is actually redundant, and I can delete it. The color out to displacement will not connect, because displacement is looking for 1 value and out color has 4. And R, red, is the one to use. I think there's more black and white information here somehow. Anyway, it's the traditional one. And that is my output now from the targa to my displacement shader, and then displacement comes out from here and plugs into the displacement shader, my actual surface. And let's get Arnold renderer. It's black because there's no light, so let's also get a light, and this time I'll just use the Arnold light physical sky. And you can see there is some bumps. It also takes seconds to render. But I have to make some changes here to the material, and I can do it in two. I can do different changes in 2 different places. I'll minimize my Hypershade for a second. Notice that in the geometry, no difference, but in the renderer I see something, right? I've got the geometry selected, and I'm going to come over here to the plane shape. And down under plane shape, so there's not the polyplane, but the plane shape, there's Arnold. And if I click that, there are several different subheads, and one of them is subdivision. And there's also height. So under subdivision, it says right here type none. So I'm gonna, there's no options now, right? There's all grayed out. So I'm gonna choose just the next down, which is Cat Clark. And now I have iterations as a slider, and I'll just slide it up. That's 3. Slide it up to. So it has to do with the level of detail. And then height, I can try making it like 2. You see the greater height here. But I can also, let me get like 6. And it begins to look like the moon. You know what I mean by that? These mountains have no, they're cliffs, there's vertical walls, they have no erosion, they have no piles of scree at the bottom. They really look like the moon. So I'm going to put this height back to the default, which was 1. But I did have more. I have more iterations, so I should have greater detail. And now I'll go back to my Hypershade, where I can make. Oops, don't want to close it. Where I can make some adjustments here. So this is the displacement shader itself. And I can adjust the displacement. Let's get the renderer visible here so we can see any changes. Actually, let's do the, here's the displacement shader. Let's do the scale. I think this would be kind of like height. Yeah. So there's the difference there. So now they're becoming kind of, again, more lunar, but they're not all pointy yet. And it takes a bit to render. And then let's see here. There's something else we can do here with the displacement shader. We can change the bounds padding. I'm not sure what that does. Let's try the displacement here. So I changed that scale to 3. Let's put it back down to 2. So this is my new render. This looks more normal to me. But let's try changing the displacement here and just make that also 2. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm seeing much difference. So, in fact, that didn't seem to take. Try this again. Huh. It goes back to 0. So maybe I can't actually change the displacement. Oh, I see. It's looking for maybe another map or something. Okay. So here, rather than the displacement, I want to there we go. Yeah, I want to use the scale. So that's how to make it taller or shorter. I'll make it 5. So the scale here seems to be similar to the height in the material. If I pull this down, I'll change it back. In fact, actually, I'll leave this scale at 5, and I'll pull this back to the here to the height. So yeah, the height here is 1. So if I make it 0, you can see flatten it all out. So I think maybe that's the idea. I would keep this at its default, and then make the changes to this height here in the displacement shader itself under scale. So there is a terrain. Now, it's all gray, but I could use my original map here. I could use this to create colors. So for instance, these white areas could be white, so that they're the highest points, and they might be snow on these mountains. And then the gray areas I could turn to brown. I wouldn't change this map. I would make another version of this image so that all the black areas were green or for grass, and then brown in the gray areas, etc. I could paint it by hand, or I could paint it. I could use techniques to do it. This has just been a bit about displacement maps for generating terrain in Maya, and this would render in a game engine like this. And if we can see, actually, we can imagine being on this terrain. I think I'm under it, yeah. We can imagine being on this terrain and seeing these mountains and whatnot. It just takes a long time to render, as you can see, in the Arnold renderer. But there it is, and I might change the specularity and other things. That's it.